Okay, hi, I'm Keith Hunter, and this is the Bulldog Bark. And joining me, I got a special guest, former WQHL, WNER broadcaster, and former Bulldog announcer, Tim Tooten. How you doing, Tim?
Fantastic. Great to be in Florida.
All right, Tim. Now, let's go back. What year did you finish school, Tim?
1976, class of 76, the class, of course.
Okay. And did you play ball back then?
Only to 9th grade, but I did get a chance to do some announcing, but I stopped playing ball in 9th grade. That was the extent of my football career.
Okay. Now, of course, you mentioned that you had a broadcast Bulldog football with the late Puggy Day. How about sharing some of those experiences with me?
That was a great experience. Of course, as you know, Puggy Day was someone who was just phenomenal broadcaster. So I used to imitate Puggy Day growing up. And so to meet him and to be in the booth with him was great. So I did all the color commentating.
Right.
Puggy would do, there's Johnson's other thing, and I would come along and say, that's right, Puggy, nice tackle. So, I mean, that to me was like being in a major booth, even though it was WQHL.
Right. Now, who were some of the players that you used to, can you recall a few players that you watched play on the gridiron?
Now, classmates. Now, you're really taking me back.
Okay.
Jimmy Jackson, Allison Ivey, Roger Bryan was the quarterback. So these were guys I was in school with, and so to get to call the games. And by the way, we were pretty good, but not good as some of the teams that the Bulldogs are turning out these days.
Right. Now, how does it feel when you're sitting in Baltimore, Maryland, and of course, let's go back a little while ago when Swanee was making that run, winning state championship after state championship. How does it feel to be way up in Baltimore, hearing about the success of the Swanee Bulldogs?
I was bragging. Saying, either I know this kid, I know the kid's mother, and I would always tell my son, I said, anybody that was any good, I said, he must be from Live Oak.
Right.
And we were kids. I was, this guy, he's probably from Live Oak. And so Andre Davis is one of those persons that I would wear his jersey, because I just want to let people know that Live Oak is on the map.
Now, speaking of Andre Davis, wasn't his mother your classmate?
Kathy Owens and I, class of 76, absolutely.
Okay. So how did it feel when you looked at one of the former Bulldogs playing on the NFL platform and say, I went to school with this guy's mother?
To have Live Oak to come on the scene and to be on the map, it was always a reason to brag. Right. I mean, you would add stuff like, he's from Live Oak, so he's got to be good. Right. But I mean, we certainly would pump that up, and even to this day, I don't just say Florida, but I'll say Live Oak, Florida. So it was always a great sense of pride.
Okay. Now, Tim, you're the educational reporter, so you come in contact with a lot of high school students, high school football players, athletes. How does athletics in Baltimore compare to athletics in Swanee County?
I'm being biased again. I think everybody who's from Florida is fast, they're bright. But what I tell young people, I always say to them when I would go speak to schools, they would say, I said, what are you going to be when you grow up? They'd say, NFL player. And I would tell them, what else? But then it dawned on me, Keith, that I said, to be an NFL player or a ball player, you got to be smart. What do you mean? You got a playbook. You got to study. You got to have discipline. So I ended up turning that from just saying, you'll be one in a million, to saying, hey, you got to have certain skills to get on the gridiron. And so I think that became a way of me sharing with them the importance of education.
Okay. Now, Tim, moving back again, let's go back to your career as a broadcaster in Live Oak, doing play-by-play, or should I say color commentary for the Swanee Bulldogs. Did the experiences there kind of help you as you have moved on through your broadcasting career?
I think that you have room to make mistakes. Small radio station. Right. I'll never forget, and you would laugh at this, doing a baseball game. And I think Claire Parker, we had a problem back at the studio, and we were on top of the dugout. And Claire had to leave to go back to fix something. And so I really had the whole deal. I didn't realize how hard it was to call baseball. There's Johnson, he winds up and throws a pitch. But all that was kind of living out of his dream of what it would be like to be big time. Right. But as far as I was concerned, I know you can agree, you were big time at the local station, and it was all, if two people listened to you, you were big time.
Involved heavily in your church.
I'm in my 30th year at WBAL-TV, NBC affiliate. Been in Baltimore for 32 years now, so I'm still continuing the broadcasting career in TV that began in Jacksonville, actually, on Channel 4. So that's continued. I'm also pastoring a church as well, and that's been a great dream. So actually, it's like bringing good news, but in a different way. And so I get to do preaching on Sundays and broadcasting during the week. And most recently, podcasting. So there's a new podcast out called Seeds of Encouragement, and that's been a real blessing. But the career continues, and I found, Keith, they all kind of work together. That when you have a relationship with the Lord Jesus Christ and He's able to use your gifts, that there's just nothing that cannot be done.
Okay. And speaking of, and again, talking about the Bulldogs and, of course, the young men that are out there playing football, how does football prepare you? Can you draw a parallel between high school athletics and just life in general? Discipline.
I think that the commitment to prepare for a game and also the teamwork part of it. I never started. I played basketball, ran track. You always start in football. And I think it teaches you the importance of teamwork, the importance of being in a relationship with other young men. And I think that helps you along the way to certainly learn those kind of skills that can help you along life's journey.
Okay, well, definitely well said, Tim. And finally, going back to the Bulldogs, you mentioned track. Who are some of those guys you ran track with who are also former Bulldogs, and a lot of them play football as well?
Keith, we're live oak. We had a handful of guys, enough guys to fill a van. There was Gregory Patterson, Bruce Randolph. We had Isaac Brockton. No, see, I'm really having senior moments now. Right. We had certainly those guys, Ken Lawston, Jimmy Jackson. Let's see, wow. Some of the names are starting to step me, but right. I was a long distance guy. And that was way back in the day. But there was a small team of guys who played multiple sports. But I can tell you that, I know Coach Jackson is still there. I think Allison Ivey may have been a part of that team. Right. Greg Patterson, Ken Lawston. We were guys who, wasn't but a handful of us. So we went to compete. Folks had like 30 people, and we had like 9. But we came ready, Uniforms sometimes didn't match, but we were rolling, man. We were the Bulldogs. We are the Dogs.
All right, Tim. Look here, I want to thank you for joining me on the Bulldog Bark. Continue doing the great things in Baltimore. Continue inspiring the youth, whether it be in Baltimore or whether it be inspiring even the youth in the Swanee County as well.
And I'm honored to be a guest on this show, and I want to inspire you. Continue the great work that you're doing for the community.
All right. Thank you, Tim Tooten, for joining me on the Bulldog Bark. Hung up the cleats at an early stage in high school, 9th grade. Went on to run track and field for the Bulldogs, major in television broadcasting at Florida State University. Then after that, and of course, Tim's been in Baltimore for nearly 30 years, the education reporter at WBAL-TV, one of my mentors, and a great friend, and furthermore, a great Bulldog. Thank you, Tim, for joining me on the Bulldog Bark. You've been listening to a Bulldog Bark. I now send it back to the Coach's Corner. I'll see you next week right here on the Bulldog Bark. We'll see you then.